Welcome back to the Arash Markazi show presented by the Sporting Tribune on the Mightier 1090 ESPN Radio in Southern California, 98.5 The Bet in Las Vegas, and the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760 in Hawaii. We have traded one member of the Baller Sports Dialogue for another member of the Baller Sports Dialogue, Grant Mona. Grant, listen, I feel bad for your partner, Brandon. He's
Me
going.
too.
He's going to the press box. He's in the clubhouse. And it's Groundhog Day with the Angels. Listen, I mean, is there anything? I don't even know what they could hope for at this point. I mean, really. Like, I think if they had a chance to keep Shohei, they at least had to make a push for the postseason. At this point, I think this is worst case scenario where not only are they not really in contention, but they went all in at the trade deadline, which, listen, it doesn't make any sense normally, but I get what they were trying to do. I think they were really trying to prove to Shohei, like let's go for it. I mean, they haven't won since then. It's just absolutely incredible.
Yeah, you look at the team before the trade deadline, and obviously they had to make moves if they were going to go for this all-in kind of approach. For Shohei Ohtani, I think you had to do it because this is a once-in-a-generation, like everyone knows, a once-in-a-generation talent. And when you have him on your team in the last year of a deal, you want to do everything you can to woo him. And I was all in on the approach of let's just get all the assets we can. And, they got a big arm in Giolito, which was one of the top pitching arms on the market. You get guys around the edges. You get a few relievers, which have been actually pretty good. It's just that Reynaldo Lopez just went on the bereavement list, so he's kind of been unavailable. You've had guys like Aaron Loop and a guy like Esteves, who has been nails locked down all year for the Angels, and all of a sudden in this week span, he's given up. He's had 2 blown saves. He's blown 2 leads. He's, and I'm not going to put the blame on him because he's still an excellent pitcher, and you shouldn't blame a guy that's, he's been perfect up until this week, which is such a shame. It's just, for me, I feel, I've said this many times, I just feel for the fans because, I know that those fans really care about that team. They've shown up, after the trade deadline. I've watched, many of their games. They show up. They were packing that stadium just to watch this team play because they got Randall Grichuk, they got CJ Crone, they got guys in that lineup. They got Mike Moustakas, who's actually been pretty good. I don't think the issue is with their lineup. I can't really pinpoint something that it boils down to because you have a good guy in Phil Nevin, a guy that's been around baseball for a while. There's not many managerial decisions that he's making where I'm just like, that's a head scratcher. Sure, there's a few, and everyone has a few, but I think it's just coming down to performance, honestly. And you could say that about a lot of teams, but in this team's case, that's not really going to cut it. At this point, they're 8 games out of a wild card spot. They're 11 and a half out of the AL West. Just before this week, they were, I think, 4 out, and it looked like they could win the division, which is actually crazy. And it just goes to show within baseball how quick it can change. You make all these moves and you do everything right, but something that the baseball gods don't like, and within a week you are so far back to where it looks insurmountable. So I feel for the fans. I don't really know where they go from here. I mean, you just got to fight through it because you already went all in. The trade deadline's passed. You can't do anything at the waiver deadline. I mean, you're not going to get anything significant. So for them, it's just kind of a push through it and kind of pull through and see what happens at this point.
We spent much of the first segment on combat sports. So, Adrian, I forgot to bring up one of the best fights of the past week was your Cleveland Guardians. Did you get a chance to see that?
Did I get a chance to see Tim Anderson flopped on his ass? Bro, I'm so like, Tim, man, hold your L. You went on Twitter over the week, you threatening people on the internet, bro. Do me a favor, man. If you're listening to this, if you're watching to this, not only hit that subscribe, but also favor. Don't ever fight the internet. I don't care where, what position, blah, 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 other than some very serious ones. Don't go up against everybody. You look like a fool, man. You have to take it on the chin. And as Bruce Wayne's father told him when he was younger in the Christopher Nolan classic Batman Begins, we fall down so that we can learn to get ourselves up. My friend, that's not how you get up. You see me, Tim? You understand? And not only that, for those that don't know, because why would you just be paying attention to a random Guardians versus White Sox series? Just in that series, what had happened the day before is that someone tried to steal second base. Tim was covering the bag. He literally physically grabbed dude's leg and then removed it off the bag. They challenged it. They still called them out. Terry Francona, Tito, the legend, the Hall of Famer, gets ejected over this nonsense. And then you still want to be a word that I can't say on the airwaves again? Tim, that's what you get. Jose Ramirez, build him a statue, a GOAT, a top 10 player in this league. Tim Anderson, you're kind of a phony. You know what I'm saying? We were setting you up to be great. Your team was supposed to be great. Even the reports about the White Sox from former relievers that have come out this week about how there's no culture. You're supposed to be a culture trender, you set the tone, right? You're out here doing things in your personal life that some would say is cheating. You're cheating life and you can't fight. That's not a good combination, my friend. Jose Ramirez, you're the GOAT.
Yeah, well, that was a fantastic monologue there. What I'm going to say though is that's probably the biggest hit that Tim Anderson has seen this year because he has not been that great. He has one home run this year. This year has not been kind to him. Let's just say that he's had a knee injury. He's gotten socked by Jose Ramirez, who I didn't know Jose Ramirez had. I was not familiar with his game. He has a good right hook, and I know Tito was actually enjoying that because Tito in his post game press conference was like, "Yeah, actually, it wasn't a left hook; it was a right hook." So I know he was paying close attention. But Jose Ramirez, I mean, that fight. Look, say what you want about disrespecting the game because that's what Jose Ramirez said he did. He said he disrespects the game and he doesn't like that. So I respect it from Jose Ramirez. The other thing is that I hate to say this, but it's actually cool for baseball. I don't want fights like guys getting hurt or anything like that. And Tim Anderson passed through concussion protocol, and he's okay. He played the next game, so we can get that out of the way. But I think it's so. I mean, it's just cool to see two teams that haven't been performing up to expectations. Obviously, going at it in a August game like this over something. It didn't even look, Adrian. I don't know if you've seen it like more times. I didn't even see anything that looked like too bad. To where it did this whole thing. I just didn't see anything.
I don't want to go up against Buster Only, Tim Kirksham, but I had multiple videos sent to me from Progressive Field, multiple angles, first baseline, outfield, third baseline, behind catchers from everyone that was
the grassy knoll everywhere.
Yeah, I had all these. And at the end of the day, I'm going to say it again. Tim Anderson behaves like a word that I am not allowed to say. And what happened was deserved. And not only like simple as plain, you get into a fight and your defense, like your stance was like, what are you talking about? Like when I got the poop and I was like, I don't want to let people know like that's where he has his hands. Like he had like what's going on here?
You can't get into that stance and get dominated like he did. Let me just say that because Jose Ramirez just went cold turkey. He just went, let's do this.
Well, yeah, because he's like this. I'm trying to change this for the camera. Like it was crazy, and it's cool because it's 2 stars. And you know what? It is good for the sport. What are we just gonna let hockey always have fights? But if this happened in the NBA, then the culture and this and all these players are blah, 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 blah. But in hockey, it's applauded. It's BS. We want to fight too. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to that. You got 2 stars. You got a knockout. You didn't give me. Oh, hold me back. Hold me back. None of that.
That's what we see in the NBA. Yeah, that's what we see in the NBA.
If we do end up getting to that situation, now Jesse Jackson and all these people need to be involved because of what some people would say if NBA players start fighting for reasons that we all know that we don't have to get into. But it's okay for hockey. It's just cool, man. It's fun. Yeah, hockey. Get out of here, bro. Shout out.
And also,
Ramirez.
The last thing I'll say is that I don't know if anyone noticed this because there's a whole scrum, but the umpire was initially acting like an umpire, and then he turned into a boxing referee. He just went back and started like refereeing the fight, and I thought that was the best part of the whole thing.
I don't know. I assume in California, kids went back to school. Here in Nevada and here in Las Vegas, first week back to school. My father was a teacher, retired 35 years in Cleveland. And he makes it very well known. I don't get paid to to get in the middle of this because you never know. It's kind of like if you work retail, you're also told don't chase after people that steal. All
Yeah.
this stuff is like you're gonna get hurt. You never know what someone crazy enough to do what they're doing, and you walk up to them and little click, you know what I'm saying? And it's not worth it. So shout out to the umpire. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
You're gonna get your ass beat and catch a right hook from Jose
Yeah.
because Tim Anderson wants to act like a square. Like, nah, heady play for him. And because of that, that moment is right up there with what's his name, Odor. When he
Oh yeah, Odor and Bautista.
when he
Elvis Andrews, actually, who's on the White Sox now, was in the middle of both of those, which is crazy.
Wow.
Elvis Andrews was in the middle of both, so he got a front row view of 2 knockouts. Just crazy to me.
and a little behind the scenes, I did actually reach out to White Sox PR to try to get Andrews on the show. They denied the request because they probably didn't want.
I understand that,
but the request was put in through separate airwaves, through separate channels that I have. But they still said no, and it's fine. It's okay because I'm not Tim Anderson, so life's fine, and none of us are. Don't be behaving like Tim Anderson, and that's the end of my second monologue.
I love that. I mean, I listen. I brought that up thinking that there may be something there. I did not know the passion that you had for that. That is amazing.
Ozzie Guillen, ugh,
oh,
Nerco, just a compiler, just a straight compiler. Frank Thomas with the hair commercial.
Pierzynski,
Say Brzezinski, bro. Another word that I can't say on the radio.
Oh my god.
Get out of here. What else? Shout out to Cliff Floyd. Cliff Floyd might be the only cool White Sox of all time. They stole that World Series in 2005, one of the most lowest rated World Series ever because it was Lance Berkman going up against Paul Konerko. Ugh, we could have had Grady Sizemore and his sexy ass in a World Series, but instead we got to look at Paul Konerko. Oh my goodness. Mark Burley. Ugh, the whole just ugh. Oh,
and don't bring that team up to Brandon because the White Sox beat the Angels to get into that World Series too on a controversial call.
What? Since we're here on the AL Central, and I was just in Detroit for SummerSlam on Sunday, I decided to actually go to the Tigers Rays game as a fan, meaning that I paid for a ticket. I've been spoiled. I wanted to get back to my roots. I went on TickPick and I got my ticket. You know what I'm saying? I saved it with the discount code Sporting Tribune, tickpick.com. And so I went and I was like, should I write an article on this or come up with something? I was like, no, just go have a good time. I was actually starving, was looking forward to eating the food. They have a collector's cup, Miguel Cabrera 3,000 hits, that I was deciding on buying. I was like, why not? I love those cups. I'm a sucker for an oversized pop cup, soda cup, whatever you want to call it. And the lady said, you get free refills. So I was like, I'll pay $10 for this. So guess what? They don't sell refills.
No.
And I cannot wait to leave the review. America Park for being lied to. I would have bought a regular. I only bought this because I wanted a refill. And then they got Little Caesars pizza. Like you just buy a slice of Little Caesars pizza. Thankfully, it was about $4, but it was still just literally a slice of, like they didn't spice it up or
Wait a minute. You got one slice of Little Caesars pizza for $4 when you could get the whole $5 one. Like you get a whole one for $5. No,
because of inflation. I think it's now $6 or $7. And then
but still,
yeah, but but I will give them credit. Their food. They had a food court area.
Okay.
And they had a lot of this is very important if you're ever stuck in Detroit. The tacos, like it was a good mix. The stadium, even though it was raining, had a lot of people, and it was a cute ballpark. But don't ever tell me that you're gonna do free refills and don't give me free refills. Once again, this is why, if it wasn't for the Guardians, this division would be down in the dumps. There's no culture, there's no fighting, and don't even get me started on Target Field. I'm just kidding. I got nothing on Minnesota. They're good. They're good people.
Grant, speaking of the Dodgers, we talked about how bad the Angels are. All the little minor moves, and again, they were minor moves at the time. I think a lot of Dodger fans wanted to see them swing for the fences. They have played out and they've done well so far. When you look at Lance Lynn, when you look at Kike Hernandez, your thoughts on the Dodgers and the way that their newcomers have performed?
Yeah, well, let me just read. So, I put this in my article the other day. Let me just read some of the stats from these guys
There
that,
we go.
I think I've come on here and said that I wasn't a fan of them. They've made me eat my words so far. Kike Hernandez through 11 games is hitting 324 with a 350 on base percentage, which is absolutely elite. Ahmed Rosario hit a home run on Sunday Night Baseball. 9 games, 9 RBIs. Thank you, Adrian, for sending over Ahmed Rosario for
No
Noah
problem.
Syndergaard. Lance Lynn, 2 starts, 2-0, 2.77 ERA, really good. Joe Kelly, 3 games, no earned runs and 5 Ks. And even Ryan Yarbrough, 4.1 innings pitched with 1 earned run. These are the guys that nobody was really looking at in terms of the market. Nobody said, "Oh, I want Ahmed Rosario on my team. I want Joe Kelly on my team." Now, some people have said Lance Lynn because his numbers don't really reflect the kind of pitching that he's been putting up. So I understand it from the perspective of the Dodgers, where you didn't really have to give up big prospect names. Now, I do disagree with the subtraction of Nick Nastrini. I think he was a pretty good prospect that they let go, but they got Lance Lynn and they got Joe Kelly out of it, and they've been performing just fine. The Dodgers didn't go all in. They didn't get those big names like they did in 2021. They didn't get them like they did in 2018. And in both of those years, they were kind of disappointments. You lost in the World Series in 2018. You lost in the first round, or actually in the NLCS in 2021 with Max Scherzer and Trey Turner. So maybe there's a reverse fortune there. For the sake of Dodger fans, I hope that's the case because we know how hard Dodger fans are on the players sometimes. This team is still exceeding expectations at this point. I think that's pretty clear. They're 4 games up in the NL West. Even with the Giants playing as well as they are, to have a 4-game lead this late for a team that's kind of just been thrown together is really remarkable. But here's the thing, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be like, I've said this in many shows, it's not going to be like, last year. It's not going to be like these years in the past where they just dominate the rest of the NL West for the rest of the year. No, the Giants are good. The Diamondbacks aren't going to go away. I mean, they got a few pieces in their bullpen at the deadline as well. They're still going to be there, and they're playing the Diamondbacks in a 4-game series right now, and it remains to be seen how they do there. But these are crucial series. They're not going to be playing, up 20 games, up 10 games, double digits in the standings. And even when you get to the playoffs, I'm not going to say they're in yet because you still got to get there. It's not going to be easy like it is in years past. There's still flaws for this team. They still need, to get some pitchers back. They still need Walker Buehler and Clayton Kershaw back, and they're on the mend and they're getting there. But there's still flaws within this team. They're out performing everything that we've kind of expected for them. They're still on pace for 95 wins, which is crazy in a year that everyone said would be a down year, including myself. It's been a pretty big success, in my opinion. I think they're going to continue to play the way they are. There's chemistry, there's camaraderie, there's good talent up and down the roster, there's good depth, and I think that the young talent that they have is just kind of infusing energy into this team, which you didn't have last year.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where I thought they would contend. I didn't think, and again, not that they've run away with the division, but I thought the Padres would have been much better. That has not been the case. That's the interesting thing. And we had Fernando Ramirez on the show, and he was covering the Dodgers Padres series, just the current state of the Padres, and you touched on it, Grant. I mean, 13 straight years where the Dodgers have won the series. Just incredible domination by them. I'm going to close out with this, and I want to get your thoughts. Team USA is beginning their journey, and we kind of touched on this on the show yesterday, but wanted to get your thoughts real quick. Again, we only have 2 minutes left. Who are you most interested to see as Team USA begins their journey to the FIBA World Cup?
Well, obviously, Austin Reeves is the one that a lot of people that are watching this and listening to this will be following. But in my opinion, I think it's Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards, for me, is going to take that leap this year to be maybe an MVP candidate. He was really good last year, really good in his rookie year. This kid's only 22 years old, and in his first scrimmage, in the first scrimmage against Puerto Rico, he looked really good. I think he had 15 points. He had his mid-range going. He was rim running. He's got a lot of athleticism. He's electric. This is the kind of guy that, for the Timberwolves, this is the guy that you build around. I know they have Gobert and Towns, but for this Team USA roster, I think he can, develop into that number one guy. Obviously, you have Brandon Ingram, Tyrese Halliburton, all these guys that are big names that have multiple All-Star appearances. But for me, I think Anthony Edwards is the guy. But A couple glue guys that I want to mention out. Obviously, Austin Reeves, he had a good performance in the first game, but another guy, Josh Hart, who didn't play in that first scrimmage, but I think he's going to be a good connector for this team. So there's a lot of little pieces that you should probably look forward to in this Team USA roster.
Yeah, had a
Yeah, you
blast.
strong, baby.
Yeah. By the way, how about the drip from the Baller Sports Dialogue? We had Brandon in segment 1 with that drip, and now we had got Grant Mona. I mean,
Hey, got to show out for the show, man.
the
And
Got to show
legends.
out for the show.
and if
All
you're
right.
missing visually on this YouTube at the
You
Sport,
really? Yes.
watch in person. Come on now.
Come on. All right. That's all the time we have for today. Let's do it again tomorrow. Until then, this is Arash Markazi saying stay safe and stay healthy.